Good morning, everyone. My name is Gabrielle, and I'm the Digital Marketing Manager here at Weiser Mazars. And thank you all for joining today's webcast on how to tweet. As I'm sure most of you are pretty well aware, Twitter is one of the up-and-coming leading forms of communication of the food and beverage industry, and it's also going to be one of our features of this Thursday's Food and Beverage Forum. So that being said, I'm excited to share with you some really cool tips that you can use not only on Thursday, but going forward both for your personal brand and your company's brand on Twitter. That being said, my goal today is to make the next half hour worth your while. So I'm going to start with why you should care about Twitter, specifically as a food and beverage industry professional. Then we're going to switch over to how to build out your Twitter profile, how to actually send a tweet, and how to be tweeted in return, so how to kind of build your followers on Twitter. Of course, I'm also happy to answer any questions you may have or that come up during today's webcast. So to send me any questions, you can use the Q&A box on the lower left-hand side of your screen. And I'll try to answer as many questions as possible during today's half an hour, but if we run out of time, I'll get a record of those questions afterwards and can answer them later via email. So feel free to send over as many questions as you like. And lastly, there's a copy of today's presentation for download under the green resource list button at the bottom of your screen. So feel free, if you like, to go ahead and print that out and follow along. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is why should you care about Twitter, specifically as a food and beverage industry professional? And one of the main reasons is that Twitter can help you get your content seen by a lot of people. And a really good example of this happened during the 2013 Super Bowl. That's the one with the power out, where all the lights went out in the stadium. And once that happened, within a matter of minutes, Oreo Cookies sent out the tweet that you see here on the left that said, "Power out, no problem. You can still dunk in the dark." And it went crazy on Twitter. I mean, you'll see down there in the bottom that they had 15,000 retweets and almost 7,000 likes. And the conversation around this tweet on Twitter continued for weeks afterwards, and it made the news, and it kind of shocked a lot of people. People were amazed that they had turned that around so quickly. And there's a couple of reasons for that. And one is that they were very timely, they were very clever, and they were very funny. And certainly that's going to help you on Twitter, because Twitter is a place where you can be very authentic and very real, and certainly funny if that suits you. But the real reason that they had such good traction from this tweet was that not only did they manage to get it to all of their Oreo followers, the people who follow Oreo on Twitter, but they also managed to get this tweet in front of the eyeballs of everyone who was following the Super Bowl. So all these new people, all these new followers. And they did that using a hashtag, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But Twitter allows you to get your content into these new conversations and in front of new eyeballs pretty easily. And this was very effective for them. In fact, they reported that their tweet was more effective than their official Super Bowl TV commercial, which of course they spent millions of dollars on. So their social media team was pretty happy that day. So that's reason number one why you should care about Twitter, because your content can be seen by a lot of people if you use it smartly. All right, so now a second reason you should care about Twitter is that you can really collect people and gather people around your brand. And a good example of this was a movie that came out a couple of years ago with Jon Favreau called Chef. And it's a movie about this restaurant chef who was frustrated that he didn't have creative license in his own kitchen. So he quit and started a food truck that he took across the country on this road trip, and he brought his young son with him. And the son got them up on Twitter, got the business up on Twitter, and their success on Twitter led to their success as a food truck. And when this movie came out, people assumed that because Twitter played such a prominent role in this movie, it was almost a starring role itself, that Twitter had paid for product placement. But in fact, they hadn't. And in an interview with Jon Favreau following this movie, he said, well, I talked to a lot of food truck owners and small food and beverage entrepreneurs, and they were saying that Twitter is how they're communicating their business and how they're amassing these followers and communicating their message. And so he was really just being authentic and using Twitter as a starring role in this movie. And you'll see here these screenshots on the right are 3 different food trucks here in New York City who have crazy followings on Twitter. You have Cool House, the first one, which is gourmet ice cream sandwiches. They have almost 80,000 followers on Twitter. You have Rickshaw Dumplings, which is almost 16,000 followers on Twitter. And you have the Big Gay Ice Cream Truck, has 64,000 followers. And that started out as a truck and now has several brick-and-mortar stores because they were so successful. And how did they become so successful? Because they were embodying their brand voice. If they were funny, they were funny. If they were snarky, they were snarky. If they were very elite, they were very elite. So what Twitter allows you to do is really embody your brand's voice or to embody your own personal voice, and people respond to that and really collect around your brand. So that's the second reason why you should care about Twitter. And the third and last reason I'll share today as to why you should care about Twitter is that Twitter is not just for these big company accounts. The food and beverage industry runs the gamut on Twitter. There are writers and journalists and chefs and farmers and restaurants and food trucks, and just the list goes on. And one of the really cool things is that you don't need to know these people personally to connect with them on Twitter. So in other words, if I wanted to strike up a conversation myself with the editor-in-chief of Bon Appetit magazine, I could. And he is more likely to respond to me on Twitter than on any other social media platform. So as a food and beverage industry leader yourself, you have almost exclusive access to these people and to these accounts and to these moguls of your industry, which is extremely useful both for your personal brand and for your company's brand. So again, we'll talk about the logistics of all of this, but those are some main reasons why you should care about Twitter. And to sum this all up, Twitter is one of the most commonly used languages in the food and beverage industry, and these conversations are happening on Twitter with or without you. So even if you don't use Twitter every day, which many of us don't, you still need to know how to access these conversations and these people when needed. So that's what I kind of want to teach you about today. Now this wraps up the why you should care about Twitter, and now we're going to shift over into the how. So how do you actually go about doing this? Right? And I know we have people on the line from various levels of Twitter experience, so we're going to start at the beginning and work our way up. Of course, if you have questions at any point, feel free to stop me by sending in a question to the Q&A, and I'll try to answer as many questions as possible. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to actual Twitter live and in person so you can follow along with what I'm doing. All right? And the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is the Twitter bio, your own profile on Twitter. And the reason this is so important is because you will have very little information about yourself on Twitter, so everything that is on there, you really want to make it count. Okay, so now looking at your screen, this is twitter.com. I am logged in as myself. What we're looking at here is my home page. So these are the tweets of all of the people I follow on Twitter. All right, and similarly, when you log in, you'll see all the tweets of all the people you follow on Twitter. But what we want to focus on first is your profile page. And you'll see that over on the right here. And all you have to do is you click on your name, and it will take you to your profile page on Twitter. And the first thing I want to show you, and the first thing you should do to your profile when you're uploading all this information, is you want to have a profile picture. Because it's going to make you more memorable, and it's going to put a face to your name, and it's going to make you more relatable. So it can be a casual picture, it can be a professional picture, but you want it to be zoomed in enough that people can see your face, because oftentimes people use Twitter on their phone, so the pictures are very small. So you want it to be a nice picture of yourself. Again, is going to show people that they found the right person when they're looking for your profile. And also you want to add a nice cover image across the top here. And this is just a picture that can be anything you want that adds a pop of personality to your profile. So a lot of food and beverage industry people have food type images up there. As a social media person, I have a computer up here. Now to go ahead and make any of these changes, you just come over here to this Edit Profile button, and you'll see you can quickly click on any of these and upload a new picture. Right, and you can change those at any time. Now we're going to continue down because this is your bio. This is all the information Twitter has about you. All right, so again, you really have to make all the words count here. First things first, you want to have your name, your full name here so people know they've found the right person. And the next thing I'll show you here, this is your bio. All right, you have 160 characters, not even words. You have 160 characters to describe yourself on Twitter, which is quite the challenge. So you really want to make sure that you pack that full of information. You can see that mine is leader of digital and social media at Wiser Mazars by day, adventurer and the Tea Decree blogger by night, probably planning an afternoon tea. All right, so in just those 4 short lines, you get a lot of information about me. You know I'm probably going to be tweeting about digital and social media marketing, about Wiser Mazars, about my blog, The Tea Decree, and about afternoon tea. And if you look at the tweets I've sent, that pretty much is true to point. Okay? So what you want to do in here is you can be funny, you can be professional, but you want to fill this out so people know who you are and what you're going to be tweeting about, because this is all the information they have about you. All right, so that's one thing there. You also can put in your location tag so people know where you're based, and you have the option to put in one website link. You can put in your company website, you can put in your personal website, a blog, or if you have nothing else, you can go ahead and put in the link to your LinkedIn page, because certainly there's more information about you there. All right, so once you go ahead and make all these changes, you want to come over here and make sure you hit save so that all those changes save. And then once you do that, there'll be a good amount of information about you on here so people know who you are and know what you're about, okay? So now another thing you'll notice is that some of my text here is green, and you can see that when I hover over them, they are links to other pages. Now that's kind of level 2 of Twitter, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But when you're getting started, you can go ahead and just have this be text. You can just type in text here, but the way to optimize your profile is to use these hashtags with the # in front and usernames with the @ sign in front. All right? But again, that's level 2. As you're just getting started, all of your tweets and all of your bios here can just be straight text. All right? So now we're going to talk a little bit about that level 2, which is adding in some of these links. All right? So the first thing I'll show you is a username. So a username designates a specific account on Twitter. So this is my username here. You can recognize the username because it has the @ sign in front of it. And when you send a tweet to someone or tag someone in a tweet or mention someone in a tweet, you need to know their username. All right? And you'll find anyone's username on their profile page right here underneath their name. Okay? And I'll show you what that does. So when you go ahead and want to tag someone in a tweet. So I always am tagging Wiser Mazars in a tweet. So I type in @Wiser Mazars, and once you save your bio or send a tweet, you go ahead and click on that, and it becomes a link to their page. And also when you go ahead and use someone's username, they'll get a notification up here. They'll get a little glow for them, and it'll say that, oh, so-and-so mentioned you in a tweet. All right? So that's a good way to kind of get someone's attention on Twitter. We'll talk more about this. You can see here, these are usernames. Again, this links to the Tea Decree over here, my blog. And so those are usernames. And so if you want to tag someone in a tweet, you'll need to know their username. A thing that's a little bit different is a hashtag. And that's anything on Twitter with a # in front of it. And all you have to do is you type in # and then a buzzword. And what that does, for example, I'll use afternoon tea as an example, is it will take you to all the tweets and all the Twitter from people all over the world who are using #afternoon tea. So if you click on that, you'll see there's all these tweets that are using #afternoon tea. So that's basically a good categorization tool that Twitter uses. And that's what Oreo had done in that Super Bowl tweet, is they sent that tweet and they used the Super Bowl hashtag so that their tweet showed up in this whole conversation that was happening about the Super Bowl. And that's how they got their tweet seen by so many other people. So when you're going ahead and tweeting or doing your bio or anything like that, you want to use these hashtags to kind of add yourself to a particular conversation. And again, we'll talk more about this. But that's the essential difference, is that a username here is something that designates a particular account on Twitter or a particular person, a particular organization. And a hashtag is something that designates a categorization of conversation or a buzzword of sorts. Okay, and so like I said, this can be text. You can use just text in your bio. You don't need to worry about these usernames or these hashtags if you don't want to, especially when you're first getting started. But what this allows you to do is it allows you to be more searchable. So if people are searching for afternoon tea tweets, I'll come up as someone who's recommended to talk about that conversation. Similarly, if someone searches for Wiser Mazars, I'll come up as someone who talks a lot about Wiser Mazars. So that's what the point of that is. But again, you don't need to worry about that right now. The other thing I'll show you while we're on the page is, like I said, if you want to if you want to tag someone in a tweet, you need to know their username. So to find someone's username, you would come up here to this search bar and say you wanted to tweet something about the Mets. All right? So you'd come in here, type in the Mets, and you'll see here's the official New York Mets, and their username is @Mets. Okay? So you can do that. Similarly, you can look at the Yankees. New York Yankees is @Yankees. But it's always good to check because you never know. For example, you type in the Rangers if you wanted to tweet about the Rangers. Well, the Texas Rangers use @Rangers, and the New York Rangers use @NY Rangers. So it's always good to check a username before you use it. Okay? So that's really quickly just an introduction to your bio page. You want to go ahead, fill out your picture, fill out your bio, put some links in here so that people know what you're going to be tweeting about. All right, so now I'm going to push you back over to the PowerPoint presentation because I want to show you, we're going to dissect a tweet here, okay? So what you see here on your screen are two different tweets. And the thing that makes Twitter really complicated and hard to get used to is that there's all this new language, right? You got retweets and usernames and hashtags, and Twitter itself is very short and brief. So the one thing is I want to do now is just kind of walk you through what all these different things mean. So we're going to dissect the structure of the tweet here, okay? So you come over here, and you'll look at this tweet that's on the upper left. This is a tweet that was sent by Weiser Mazars about our Food and Beverage Forum. And you can see it's sent by Weiser Mazars. You see the little logo there. We're excited to begin a discussion of the food and beverage industry with our distinguished SB Forum NJ panel. All right, and then we shared this picture here. All right, so we put in hashtag food and hashtag beverage because that's going to add us to those conversations. Those are people who would probably be interested in hearing about our Food and Beverage Forum as people who are also sharing tweets with hashtag food or hashtag beverage. And then also this hashtag here is Food and Beverage Forum NJ panel. So if on Thursday you want to tweet anything about the panel or about our event, you want to use that same hashtag, that hashtag FBForumNJ, because any tweet that you use that hashtag in, we will see and we'll be able to share it, and everyone at the conference will be able to see it. Again, more on that later. But you'll see tweets are very short. You have 140 characters maximum to say what you want to say. You want to include a link or a picture. A link or a picture is going to be 22 characters each, so no matter how long your link actually is, it'll cut it down to 22 characters. You want to include usernames when possible. That designates like a speaker or a particular person, a particular company. All right? And you want to include hashtags. Those are those buzzwords or event tags like this over here. And you want to have proper grammar in your tweet. Tweets should be short. They should not be sloppy. Okay? And a couple other things over here. You can retweet a tweet. That means you're going to share somebody else's tweet. So if Weiser Mazars tweets something, you can share that with all of your followers, and that's called a retweet. Again, the lingo here. And you can also favorite someone's tweet. That's essentially like liking something on Facebook. You can just favorite someone's tweet as well. That's what those two buttons here on that top tweet mean. All right, and you'll see over here, here's a second tweet that we sent, the one without the picture. We're looking forward to hosting our Food and Beverage Forum Tech and Innovation panelists, Aero Farms, and then you see all the others here as well. All right, so you see we tagged them in the tweet by using all those companies' usernames. We tagged ourselves to the event conversation using the SB Forum NJ hashtag, and we included a link to our registration page. All right, so like I said, this is all still pretty much level 2 of tweeting. If you want to send a tweet with just text in it, you are more than welcome to do that. But to really take it to the next level, you would start adding in these usernames and hashtags. All right, so now the next thing I'm going to show you on this next page here, the trickiest thing about Twitter is that 140 characters, because that is short. That's hardly a full sentence. And so one of the things you have to do on Twitter is you really have to shorten your posts. For example, here's the original text of a post. Attention food and beverage sector professionals. I'll be attending the Weiser Mazars Food and Beverage Forum on May 19th. This year's theme, how technology and innovation are shaping the industry, and then the link to the registration page. That's a perfectly lovely post. I mean, on LinkedIn, that would be fantastic. But you can see it's 219 characters, which is much higher than the 140 characters you're allowed on Twitter. So what you have to do is you kind of have to work your tweet down into being under 140 characters. So you can see what we changed it into. Looking forward to @WiserMazars. We use their username, so they'll get a notification that we tweeted about them. Food and Beverage Forum NJ event. Again, anything you're going to be sending on Thursday or about our event, we want you to use that hashtag, that #FB Forum NJ. Event this Thursday. This year's theme, Tech and Innovation. All right, so we put those as buzzwords that we want to be adding our tweet to those conversations. And then you can go ahead and use the links to the registration page. You see that's 130 characters. So a lot of what you're going to end up doing on Twitter is just trying to make your sentences shorter. That's what I spend most of my days doing is shortening my tweets, right? And so now the next thing is let's actually practice sending a tweet, or I'll show you how to actually type a tweet. So here's the tweet we want to send. Looking forward to Thursday's Food and Beverage Forum hosted by @WiserMazars. And then again, we're going to add in that event hashtag. All right, so let's switch back over to Twitter. All right, so here we are. We're on my profile page where I left you guys before. And to send a tweet, you're going to come up here and you're going to click on that tweet button and you'll see compose a new tweet pops up. You can add a picture, you can add a poll, you can add a location if you want. But all you have to do is you just type in text. So looking forward to Thursday's Food and Beverage Forum hosted by WiserMazars, right? And there you go. See, that's all just text. You can go ahead and tweet that, and it will send perfectly well. But to optimize your tweet, again, to take yourself to that level too so that more people actually see your tweet, let's see if we can bop this up a little bit. The first thing is, of course, you want to add in our event hashtag. All right, so you just go ahead and type that in, and you see as soon as you put a hashtag in front of something, it becomes a link. So when you tweet it, it will be a link. All right, we can tag WiserMazars because they're already mentioned here, and we know that their username is @WiserMazars. So see, all you need to do is you add in the @ sign, and that becomes a link. And then why don't we also hashtag food and hashtag beverage? So then our tweet will appear in the conversation that's happening on Twitter around food and the conversation happening around beverage. All right? So that looks pretty good to me. Hosted by WiserMazars. Perfect. Tweet. Okay? So then you'll see it shows up on my page here. It will show up on the news feeds of all the people who follow me. And then you can also see a few things. Like if I clicked on this, again, it would take me to the WiserMazars page. But one of the things I want to show you is this event hashtag here. So if you go ahead and click on that, it will take you to all the events. You can sort by live if you so choose. It'll take you to all of the events using that Food and Beverage Forum NJ hashtag. All right? So you can see all the things we've said about events in the past, things we've said about this year's coming event. And this is what we're going to be doing on Thursday, is you all can send a tweet using this hashtag, and we'll all be having this conversation on Twitter about the event while we're there. So it's a good thing to practice. And we'll also have a screen set up in the room so that you can kind of see all the tweets that are coming through. So you can have a starring role as a Food and Beverage Forum by going ahead and sharing a tweet using this hashtag. Okay. So this is essentially what live tweeting is an event will have a designated hashtag. This is our hashtag for Thursday's event. But you'll also notice this when you go to other big conferences. It'll be printed on the brochures. You'll notice when you're watching the Super Bowl, it'll always be scrolling across the bottom of the screen. And what that is that event host's way of inspiring an additional conversation. So they're saying, yeah, that's great, you're watching the Super Bowl, but also, why don't you tell us what you think of it on Twitter? And so there's this whole secondary conversation that's happening on Twitter with everyone using whatever the assigned event hashtag is to kind of have a conversation there that's going on about that event. All right? So similarly here, you can do Food and Beverage Forum NJ. You'll be able to both track, by clicking on that link, you'll be able to track and see what other people are saying about it, and you'll also be able to add yourself to the conversation as well. So again, this isn't something you're going to use every day, but this is a good thing to know how to use once in a while when you're at an event like Thursday's event, especially when it's regarding technology and innovation. We're trying to get it from all angles as possible. Okay? So you can see here, that's all you have to do. If you want to add your tweet to Thursday's tweet wall or to our live tweeting, all you have to do is you just send us what you're thinking of the event by clicking on Food and Beverage Forum NJ. And the types of things you could say, like here's someone from last year, selfie with fellow Fordham alumni at Wise & Mazars' Food and Beverage Forum NJ. All right, so you can tweet pictures. We tweet a lot of quotes so that people who aren't able to attend in person can see the conversation that's happening. So never cut corners and do things right. Deepak Amin of Deep Foods on his parents' business strategy. Good advice indeed at Food and Beverage Forum NJ. All right, we tweet some cool pictures of the event. See what you all have to look forward to. Isn't that exciting? All right, look, there's wine baskets. It's a great event. There's free food. It's pretty great. All right, so again, you can tweet whatever you like, kind of it's just a secondary conversation that's happening. And it kind of shows people what's going on. Okay? Now I'll quickly talk about how to gain followers on Twitter, because one of the things that's tricky is you always feel like there's so many tweets happening on Twitter, and how do you get a hold of people? Well, what you can do, again, when you're at big live tweeting events is you can see, oh, I'm tweeting, and then you can come and follow me. Wise & Mazars is tweeting. You have this person was at the event. All right, you have all these different names of people that you can go ahead and follow, and you found them through live tweeting an event in person, okay? But you can also come up here and search for certain types of people. So if you wanted to search for the New York Times food, all right, we'll see what pops up here. So there you see it's the first thing, the New York Times pops up, NYT Food and Drink. And then you can see all these other people, and to follow them, you can just click follow here. And like I said before, you don't need to know someone in person to follow them on Twitter. It's very open and very accessible as a network. All right. You can also search up here for particular people. For example, this is a food guy, a restaurant owner, and you can see what he's about. You can follow him as well. So you can search for particular usernames. You can search for particular hashtags. All right, so you can search for hashtag food and see all the different people that are tweeting about food and follow them. But it's, common courtesy when you start tweeting and you start following people, a lot of people will follow you back. So even these, food celebrities are likely to follow you back. All right, and then the last thing I'll show you really quickly, switching back to the presentation here, is I want to show you what Twitter looks like on your phone. Because especially if you're using Twitter for an event, you're going to be using it on your phone. You're going to download the app, and it looks, of course, completely different, but all the features are the same. So this is the screen you'll see on the Twitter app on your phone. This is your home page here, so this is how you would see all the tweets from the people you follow in your network. This little button here is how you click on your profile. So if you want to go back and see the tweets you've sent or check out your profile information, edit your profile information, you can do that. You can search for people using the little magnifying glass, and you compose the tweet up here in the corner. And again, it's the same thing. If you put a hashtag in before a word or a pound sign in before a word, it becomes a hashtag. If you put an @ sign in before a word, it becomes a username. Okay? So that's the basics of Twitter. That was a fast crash course. And of course, there's some questions here. Let me see them. Let's see. So one question is, how do you create an event hashtag? And that's a good question. The thing is you don't need to submit it. You don't need to get it approved by the official Twitter authorities or anything like that. It's anything that has a pound sign in front of it. So the one thing you do want to do, and let me switch back over here, is you just want to check and see if it's being used already. So if you wanted to call it your event like best food event ever, right? You would just come up here to the search bar, put in your pound sign. All right, and you see some people are using that, but only 3. So if you wanted to call your food event the best food event ever, you could go ahead and do that. And then all you have to do is make sure that it's communicated to the people who are coming to your event so that they know to use that event. So there's no official registration process. You just kind of declare it to be so and make sure that's communicated appropriately. All right. And let's see what else we have here. Is there a directory of established hashtags? the best way you have to do is you'll experiment on Twitter. So by the people you're following, you'll see the hashtags they're using, or once you start to follow a bunch of accounts, you'll start to see what hashtags they're using, or you can check and see who they're following and what hashtags they're using. So it just kind of happens naturally over time that you'll start to pick up on what hashtags you want to follow and you want to see. All right. So that looks like there's a couple more questions here, but I did want to keep it right to half an hour. So the questions that are remaining I'll answer via email later. But please do connect with me. I'm more than happy to answer your questions at any time. You have my email address there, my LinkedIn, my Twitter. Feel free to connect with me, connect with Wise & Mazars. I will also be at the Food and Beverage event on Thursday in person, so make sure you seek me out, and I'd be happy to help you tweet or answer any questions in person, and we can discuss it further. Because like I said, Twitter is such a great tool for the food and beverage industry, and I'm always excited to help share that message and to help people get onboarded. All right. So again, thank you so much for joining this morning. This webcast will be recorded, and I'll send that out to all of you. Remember, you can also download a copy of today's slides from the green resource list button at the bottom of your screen. But thank you once again for joining, and I'll see you all on Thursday.